Bob Lazar, invisibility craft and radio communication. Bob described heart-shaped field around the craft that was making it invisible when
the craft was already outside the hangar and was just preparing to lift off. Now, they were in communication with somebody in the craft.
When standing under the craft and looking up. But there was still radio communication between someone inside the craft and someone outside. Let's reconstruct this shape on a paper. Light that is not close to a perpendicular to a surface of the heart-shaped screen. Screen, in our case screen is made of circles and lines with green radius/perpendiculars, is reflected back. After multiple bounces back. Back. Radio wave and light are both electromagnetic waves. Radio waves are at a low frequency and visible light is at a higher frequency. So, radio waves and some light do get out somewhere, leak out somewhere. Light, and radio waves, trajectories do not depend on a direction. At the picture above, I can change arrow direction. So, radio communication went through the same hole in the screen where light got out. And perhaps, for simplicity and better reception, there was an antenna attached to the craft that poked the screen. Read more in free Beyond Cutting Edge with Bob Lazar at play.google.com or at amazon.com.
And Barry said, almost like he was bragging, "Go ahead, try and touch the sphere," and I couldn't.
Bob Lazar, touching working core and avoiding high Gs. Bob described that he could not touch the working core, it was pushing back. That could be explained by time speeding up over the core, opposite to slowing it down around the craft. The craft. Bob called it anti-gravity, gravity 180 degrees. It is good to discuss gravity, it is nothing but a gradient in time dilation. Like for a skier in mountains, if he relaxes, he will go by a steepest descent. Let's measure time speed, length of a second, or where clocks run slower, around us. Of course time difference cannot be detected by a wrist watch, because it is infinitesimal, but it is there and it causes gravity. While for us it is too small to detect, for Bob's case, It should be significant and detectable both around the core and around the candle. See Chapter 13. Chapter 13. On the page 33, gravity is explained. Energy of space is proportional to a second. The slower time, the longer second. So, in E direction, picture above, energy of space goes up.
So, when object moves to E, it displaces more energy than it displaced at point A, or in any other point, B, C, D. Displacing energy means losing energy, so, point E is the point of minimum energy of the system. System equals object plus space.
And system tends toward the minimal energy state. That is why gradient in time dilation equals gravity. That explains why Bob's hands were pushed/pulled back from the core. Interestingly, that the same effect explains how a crew of this craft survives high Gs, overloads on accelerations. If core propagates faster time all over the cabin, let's say 10 times faster than normal, then 100 grams craft acceleration happens in 10 times longer period of time inside the cabin. You can do simple math and see, because acceleration is the change in speed, time participates twice in acceleration calculation, and measured in m/sec squared. 100 grams acceleration is felt as 100 grams/10 squared equals 1 gram acceleration inside. Once acceleration is over, area of fast time could be shrunk. Energy saving smile. Read more in free Beyond Cutting Edge with Bob Lazar at play.google.com or at amazon.com. Bob Lazar, Craft Flight Physics. Bob explained that the craft, after it was raised above the ground, leaned to its side, so that its engine output at the bottom of the craft should point into the direction of a move. A move. Gradients in time dilation, red arrows, show where craft is pulled in. And you may think of craft having skin made of slow time moves inside the fast time bubble. Thinking that fast time bubble is moving inside normal time is not entirely correct, because fast time bubble is not an object.
I assume that there were some measurements made, because Bob talked about gravitational waves, which are not exactly the same as they were described in Chapter 10, but similar from the time dilation perspective.
I am wondering how fast time zone could suppress possible sonic boom, perhaps some kind of uneven shape of the borders between fast and normal time, or slash in between slow time and fast time, was dissipating sonic waves. U.S. use uneven surfaces in stealth craft technologies for radio reflection dissipation. Interstellar travel mode logically could be different. Different. Slowing time in the cabin, as in sci-fi movies, is to save cruise time on trip. Fast time layer allows traveling beyond speed of light. Let's validate if that violates c speed limit from any perspective. Perspective. For the observer on the left, object traveled 100 c distance in 200 seconds. For the observer on the right, where time runs 100 times slower, only 2 seconds passed. And from his perspective, object traveled from A to B, so no c speed violation from his perspective either. And no spatial changes, time matters only. Read more in free Beyond Cutting Edge with Bob Lazar at play.google.com or at amazon.com.